this is Jane at Green Side Up. Today we are outside enjoying the beautiful spring weather, and we are going to be talking about strawberries. I love strawberries. When I was a little girl, I remember this story that I had it as a storybook. So it was about this little boy, and he was going to meet the princess of the land, and he wanted to give her a gift. He thought and thought and thought, what can a little boy give to the princess? A princess now, that would be special enough. And then he had an idea. And so he went out and planted some strawberries. He grew that strawberry plant, and he watched as that little tiny berry got bigger and bigger and bigger and more red. And when it was time for the princess to come, he picked that absolutely beautiful, red, ripe, juicy berry, and he put it on some leaves and he gave it to the princess. And she was absolutely delighted. Now, if a strawberry is good enough for a princess, it's certainly good enough for us. So we're going to talk today about, well, growing strawberries of your own. Now, I know you can get them at the store, and sometimes they taste okay, but there's nothing like a homegrown strawberry. Well, it is so good. So I have some strawberry plants with me. There are two basic kinds of strawberries. There are the June bearing and there are the ever bearing. The difference is this: the June bearing strawberries, they bloom and they bear their berries. They have their berries in a pretty short period of time, usually around the month of June. And then they're pretty much done doing the berrying thing for the rest of the season. An ever-bearing strawberry will bear strawberries early in the spring or around June, a little bit later in the summer, and then again in the fall. So an ever-bearing will have probably 2 or 3 different seasons, if you will, for when it will produce the berries. Is there one better than the other? I don't know. If, say, you wanted to do canning and you wanted to have all your berries come in ripe at the same time, then you would probably go with the June bearing. If you wanted to have berries throughout the whole season, then you would go with the ever bearing. Or if you're going to kind of do both, then you just get both kinds. Strawberry plants are considered perennial. That means that they will come back every year. Even when I lived up in Minnesota, my strawberry plants lived through the winters. Down here, no problem. So the berries like to be in slightly acidic soil. They, of course, because they are going to be working hard making berries, you need to make sure there's some organic matter in your soil. And so they have, well, I guess you could kind of say they have something to eat while they're doing their work. This is a healthy strawberry plant. You see the beautiful green leaves. This particular plant has some flowers, and it already is starting to make some little tiny green berries. Of course, it'll be a little while before those berries are ripe. So say that you start with, like in this one, there's 3 strawberry plants. 1, 2, 3. This particular plant is putting out what's called a runner. What will happen on this, you can kind of see it at the end here. It's got a little tiny leaf. This runner is what will actually make a new plant. So eventually what will happen is the runner will go out and this little plant will find some soil to sit in, and it will start to root in. And that's how a strawberry plant, one way that it can make a new strawberry plant. Now, it takes a lot of energy out of your plant if you have a whole lot of runners going all at the same time. So as soon as this baby plant is planted in, is rooted in, cut that runner. It's like cutting the umbilical cord. Now that baby plant is on its own, and it will kind of do its thing on its own. I have some questions that people have asked about strawberry plants and about their care. And so we're going to kind of do like a little question and answer thing here. One of the questions was, do strawberries have a lot of bug and disease problems? And the answer is not really too much. You don't want to overwater them. And of course, remember, with any plant, you have to walk that fine line between too much and too little water. Because if you do overwater them, they can become, waterlogged. The berries can be kind of mushy and just not as sweet. So you don't want to obviously overwater. There is a way, for instance, that you could put some straw underneath the plants, and that way, even if you get rains, the strawberries themselves will be resting on that straw instead of right on the dirt, and that will help them to prevent them from getting quite so waterlogged. Some of the other plant problems is, well, of course, birds. And if you have a big strawberry patch and you have a lot of problems with birds coming in, you're probably going to want to put some netting over the top of your berries so that you can eat them and the birds do not. Another problem that we sometimes have is slugs. And slugs are they're ugly little creatures. Anyway, so if you have slugs, a way to kind of help to keep them at bay is to, first of all, make sure that any compost or any kind of debris that you have is not close to your strawberry plants. Again, putting the strawberries so that they are resting on the straw instead of right on the dirt will help. And of course, any way that you can get rid of the slugs, I think that'll have to be another video. But physically getting rid of the slugs will help to keep them from bothering your plants. I have had people ask me, you've got the strawberry flowers. Should you pick those off the first season? Technically, yes. And the reason for that is that you want all of the energy going into that root system of that plant, so it's going to be building up a healthy plant. Now, being realistic, you bought the strawberry plants so you can get the strawberries, and well, you really would like to taste them. So I guess, it's going to be okay to leave a few of those flowers on and get a few berries. But if you take the flowers and berries off that first season, you will have a much healthier and bigger plant the next season, and it will be able to produce much better. Speaking of producing, so strawberry plants can actually produce for up to 5 to 6 years. Their peak is probably between 2 and 4 years. After that time, they just aren't going to produce as much. You might want to pull those plants. But remember, because they send out those babies, you probably have a big strawberry patch by now. And so even though you're pulling out the very mature, older plants, you're going to have plenty of plants to give you delicious strawberries. We've gotten some strawberries in. In fact, they just came in before this video. And if you would like to come over, buy some plants, we've got them available. There is nothing like a good strawberry just to make the day special. This is Jane with Green Side Up. See you soon.